rose by a very solid 13.2%, which represents 13.4 billion. So therefore, it ended the year at 115.6 billion ringgit. And for those who have been following, this is actually the highest number ever. It's a record number.
Today, Khazanah National introduced a very powerful report showcasing the financial performance for 2017. In it, Tan Sri Azwan Mokhtar, the Managing Director of Khazanah, said that the performance is actually one of the highest that has ever been recorded by the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Here are some highlights of the performance. Take a look.
We had a very good 2017, and we are headlining it that we have delivered strong all-round performance, so financial, strategic, and what we call societal returns. What's the proof point of that? Basically, our portfolio value, represented by what we call net worth adjusted, as those who have been following us over the years know, it rose by a very solid 13.2%, which represents 13.4 billion. So therefore, it ended the year at 115.6 billion ringgit. And for those who have been following, this is actually the highest number ever. It's a record number. Intra-year, it has gone above that, intra-year, within a year, but for reported, this is the highest ever, if you go back to all the records. So we think that's pretty good. Important to also recognize, it's not just about returns, but about managing risk, right? So one could have high returns, but for an inordinate amount of risk. So there's several risk measures that we track, but one particular one is what we call our RAV cover. That means the realizable asset value. How much does it cover our liabilities? And this number has actually gone up. The more the better, has gone up to 3.1 times, right? So that means our assets cover our liabilities 3.1 times. Right? So this is an important indicator of risk to make sure that we can manage any shocks, because there are many external factors, market factors that may be beyond our control. It's not just maybe, it is beyond our control, a lot of the investment risk. It could be currency, it could be markets, and so on. Coming in, it's unaudited, but it's more or less final, but the auditors will do their final stuff. But we are comfortable, as we have always every year, to report it jumped, actually, not just increased, 84.7% to 2.89 billion ringgit. And last year was 1.57. I think, to be honest, this number, as you know, represents one measure of return. This is basically realized, as opposed to the portfolio also includes unrealized gains. And it's really a function of how much you want to realize and how much you don't want to realize. So frankly, this number could be higher, it could have been lower, depending on how much we want to realize, right? It basically also represents that we believe large parts of the portfolio are still positioned for growth. It's still growing. So that's the financials, more or less, what I've just covered. The long run numbers are all there, shareholders' funds, but let's not distract from the key point is that portfolio is delivered strong results, pretty solid 13% 13 billion ringgit, record reported year-end number so far. And just as importantly, it's being done with a level of risk that we believe is moderate and acceptable. A good cover, for example, is one measure of 3 over times. And PBT, okay, numbers grown to about 2.9 billion, which we feel is appropriate for us. Then further out, actually, the second aspect of Khazanah is around, it's not just about making money with a risk profile that is acceptable, which we believe we've done not just for 2017, but over basically the last 13, 14 years or beyond even, so over long range. But it's also about trying to deliver part of our national mandate for strategic value creation. I think this is a bit of a mouthful, strategic value creation, but basically what it means, what are we doing about, for example, creating new jobs, creating new industries? Are we making our companies better in terms of productivity, in terms of technology? Are we delivering on major projects that may be deemed mega projects even? So quite topical, for example, earlier this week on Monday, you would have covered the Singapore bilateral. We were assigned the task about 7 years ago, and the work started basically in 2012. completed in end of 2017. The two Prime Ministers, our Prime Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib and Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, were there on Monday to officially officiate the completion of the project. And included in institutionalization is establishing international partnerships to ensure our governance standards are not just up to the mark, but ahead of the curve. Very important, governance and integrity. So in this regard, you know, we over years actually we've been, of course, domestically with the Code of Institutional Investors. We sign up with, you know, of course, integrity pledge with MACC and things like that. But also, for example, we are one of the signatories and we work closely with the UN for what we call the Principles for Responsible Investment. Bretton Woods, there's a group called the Bretton Woods Leaders List. They, out of about 500 kind of funds around the world, we were honored to be selected as one of the 25, what they call responsible asset allocators. That's for 2017. You saw the statement by Mr. Larry Fink of BlackRock. Some of you may have followed the last few days. So Larry Fink, BlackRock, I believe, is the world's largest fund manager. I think the number is close to $6 trillion US, very large. A lot of it is passive, but he basically has come out very publicly to say, we will only invest in companies that are socially responsible and do the right thing, you know, good governance, good integrity, no corruption, that kind of stuff, right? Which is actually quite interesting. So it's not just about making money. This is the world's largest fund manager, basically. So Khazanah is honored. We are a founding member of Larry's group. We were invited, actually, focusing capital on the long term, what is called FCLT Global. It's based in New York. So organizations like BlackRock, Canadian Pension, Mark Weissman, who's Mark has now moved to BlackRock, and you know, McKinsey people, and you know, I think that's so that's both an honor and you know, we feel privileged in that regard. But for us, it's also about benchmarking our governance standards to be world class, truly world class. And next week is Davos, as you know, time of the year. And in that regard, Khazanah has been a member about 10 years as an industry partner, but we've actually been selected to be upgraded to become what they call the highest level, the strategic partner. Only 120 firms. So not often I like to shout about, but you know, we're quite proud. Of course, they make sure we have to pay more for this, but that's another matter because when you send more people, you have to pay more registration fee. So this is all important parts of ensuring the intangibles, very important things like governance, integrity, and so on.
Succession plan in place, now the deputy MD and all. Do you see a future internal candidate for your post?
No. Like all good companies, I say, one, you must have success lah. Kalau tak ada success, you nak buat succession menjenuh sikit kan. So succession. So success, hopefully, you know, let the numbers speak for themselves. I think we've delivered all this. Sure, there are constraints, but that's what it is. Parts of it is being executed. The board, not just management, by the way, board succession, and in this case, internal succession. But ultimately, you know, that process, and it's not just me, right? Obviously, it's the board, and the board chaired by the Prime Minister. I think we need to consider this. But I take pride that one of the key things we've been doing over the years is developing leaders. We're about 460 people. Our alumni is actually more, about 500. We track our alumni, those who have left us. All that 500, about 50 are now CEOs and, you know, leading positions. Many. We created leaders. So, you know, hopefully that's one of our objectives, to contribute to help what some people may call a talent factory. So, you know, the largest listed company, for example, our Maybank, Datuk Farid is our alumni, UMW, our alumni, Talent Corp, our alumni, SPAT, our alumni, and so on. And then Datuk Ganan running TPG, you know, both GLCs, international, some become entrepreneurs, some become writers. So in that regard, I believe if organizations are good and strong and they invest not just, you know, for the immediate numbers, but for the future, they will inevitably create, you know, good leaders. And so therefore, I think, you know, not just Zol and Azmil, but actually many of my other colleagues are here, and then those outside we still keep in touch. there's a whole cadre of leaders. Jadi, and these are people, with high integrity, governance capability, etc. I think, of course, I'm biased. These are our guys, our teammates. So, whether internal ke, external ke, to be honest, not for me to say, right? And also, I'm still actually not that old, No, Khazanah's retirement age is 60, but of course we go by 3-year contracts. The key point is not whether jadi ke tak jadi. That one in a year's time we will know lah, because that's when but we've been doing this. I think now I don't know, but my 5th contract already, right? So like all of it, we don't last forever. It's important that we build the plan lah, in the succession plan. So to me, succession itu penting. Boleh tak? Boleh terima? No, outsider ke insider ke, as I said, the criteria is actually siapa yang capable and so on and so forth. And I think this has been stated. So as mentioned, that there is already a plan and a process, and the board will decide.
And that's it from me for this episode of Smart Money. Be sure to follow us on all our social sites at 501 AWANI. Also, there's a new offering that we're giving to our audience right now, to you. That's Awani Review. Go to awanireview.com. Follow us at Awani Review on Twitter and Instagram to find out more about some of the powerful insights and interviews that we have on offer. This is a very interesting service that we are providing for you. Take a look at the websites and tell us what you think about some of the interviews there. I'm Ibrahim Sani. Thanks for watching and goodbye.